There he's gonna.
Oh, it's our. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 46 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable, the podcast by indie authors for indie authors. I am your host, Wade Finnegan, and my co-hosts for this evening are John Ward, David Wright, who will be back momentarily, Trish McGowan, and filling in for Carl Sinclair, the incomparable Darren Wearmouth. We've upgraded tonight, so that's nice. Our special guests are romance writers Pamela Kelly and Brenna Aubrey. Brenna is becoming a regular on the show, so I'm guessing she must be a slow learner because I don't know why you come back.
I'm not quite insane enough yet for the regular status. Getting there.
Okay, getting there, getting close. Pamela has 3 books in publication, and in late 2013, she released a Western romance series with the first book titled 6 Months in Montana. And then the sequel came out just a little over a month ago, titled Mistletoe in Montana. Sounds a little racy, nice. Her initial launch strategy was derived from Darren's advice, hence he's on with us, which is great. And then she launched the second book through a Bookbub promotion. And then Brenna recently released her second book in her new adult series titled At Any Turn, which is a follow-up to At Any Price, which has been doing really well. And she also used a Bookbub promotion as well. A little different strategy than Pamela did, though, so we thought it'd be interesting to compare and contrast the two strategies and pick Pamela's and Brenna's brains on what they learned about launching. So, as always, we encourage our live viewers to leave questions in the comments, and I see we have lots of live viewers tonight, so we'll be looking for those. Thanks, ladies, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We haven't had Pamela on before. I think our viewers pretty much know Brenna's story because she's been on at least twice now, I think. Well, once as a host, I guess, and once as a guest. So if you don't mind, Pamela, would you kind of just go over your history, how you got into self-publishing, just kind of a recap to bring everybody up to where you are right now?
Sure. So I lurked for a couple of years on K-boards. I had actually written the mystery first. I wrote the mystery, which is called Trust, during a NaNoWriMo, the National November Writer Month, to actually finish a book. And so that was almost 4 years ago, 4 years ago. Finished it and then was just absolutely terrified about actually doing anything with it. Knew it needed a ton of work, still needed to figure out who committed the murder. So lots to do there. But in the meantime, I work full time, so a lot of dabbling. And a lot of just hanging out and just watching and seeing how the market changed. And when I wrote that book, my original intention was to go the normal traditional route. I had lots of friends that, had sold here, sold there, and I just figured that's what I would try to do too. But during that time period, I probably went a year before I did any work on the book. And, during that time period, I had some good friends that suddenly, they had a book that they tried to get published, and it didn't get picked up. They had, maybe sold to a smaller press and were trying to get to a bigger press. And when they had the book rejected, one of my friends was Marie Force, and her book was rejected, and she self-published it, and she's doing really, really well. And that book, she set it free, and I just kind of watched, because she's in my local writers group, and so she would give us updates kind of on how things were going, and she's like, oh, I think it's a fluke. I can't count on this. It's got to be a fluke. It just, this can't keep happening. And she kept writing and she kept putting books out and sharing with us. And so I just sat back and I watched, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And I still wasn't confident enough to put the mystery out. So I'm like, well, I'll just write another book. So I wrote the romance, and it was something I'd been thinking about for a while. I've always read a ton of romances. So I wrote that, finished that, got that edited, went through a couple of rounds there, and I kind of put that out as my test book. And at the same time, I had seen Darren's, he did a podcast, and he did a blog post, and it was a real pretty graph and all kinds of numbers, and that caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. One thing that struck me on K-boards, and I'd watch the advice that they'd give new people over and over again, was never promote your first book. And, my background is kind of in marketing. I work with marketing people, and that just never seemed right to me. I'm like, if you're going to put something out, why wouldn't you promote it? And so I kind of saw it as a chance to play a little bit. I'm like, I'm going to try everything, see what works, and just have fun with it, and that's exactly what I did. And pretty much everything that Darren laid out there, it didn't work for me to the extent that it did for Darren, because my book is a sweet romance, and everybody was telling me, why don't you write new adult, write erotica, that's the hot thing. And I'm like, no, I'm just writing what I want to do, and I'm going to see how it works. And it worked pretty well. But then I didn't get my second book out. I put the mystery out in January, and I did the exact same approach to it. And the second romance, the title of that's Mistletoe in Montana, and this is part of me trying to figure out how long it takes me to do things. I had this, I don't know what I was thinking, but I had this thought that I could get it out in December, Christmas. That didn't happen, so it ended up being Christmas in April. And this time around I took a different approach. I did the Bookbub ad, and I don't know if you want me to go into the details for that yet.
We'll kind of touch with Brenna first, but I wanted to kind of go back on what you said when you did the same approach with your mystery that you had done with your debut on the Sweet Western. What were the results between the two?
What I did that was interesting, and I saw how things changed a little bit, was I followed everything that Darren did, and then I picked the things that worked the best, and I tried those with the mystery. So I pretty much did almost everything, but not everything. I just picked the things that really worked well, and I had pretty similar results. So I was pretty pleased. The one thing I did find was a promotion that worked pretty well on the romance back around Thanksgiving was Kindle Nation Daily, and I had a completely different result. I mean, shockingly different result on the mystery. I think I sold, that's a $99 ad, and I think I sold 16 books with that when I launched it in January. It did everything else I did with it, it did just as well as the first book, but for some reason something was not working with Kindle Nation Daily.
That's really interesting. The other ones, though, they actually worked out pretty much equal for promo-wise then between the two?
Pretty much. I mean, really to the T. Like, e-reader today is the one that was the strongest, because this is before Bookbub, so this is the thing that is closest to a Bookbub that you can do without doing it. And the first time I did that, I think I sold 480-something copies, which was pretty good. And then when I did it with the mystery, I think it was just over 400. So a little bit less, but still pretty close.
Very respectable, yes.
How much are you promoting Are you promoting both books to the same audience, and are you finding a lot of crossover? And did the mystery do as well as your first book?
It did not do as well, and there is little to no crossover, which I found interesting. I mean, there's a few people that will pick it up, but it's two separate audiences completely.
So what are your plans? Are you going to cater more towards the romance rather than the mystery?
I'm going to keep doing the mystery too, but right now the momentum with me is with the romance, so that's what I'm working on, getting the third book out, the third romance. And then a second mystery, and then in my spare time go back and do another romance.
Okay, so going into your Bookbub ad, could you kind of explain what you did there? Because it was an interesting approach.
Yeah, what I did with the Bookbub, I had a couple of ways that I was thinking about that. And, I encourage everybody, if you get turned down with Bookbub, keep trying, because they said no to me 3 times before they said yes. And I don't know if it was just to get rid of me, but, I think the first 3 times I was asking for a 99-cent ad. And then this time I said, the last time they said no to me, I was just like, okay, fine, I'm going to go ahead and just advertise it. And I did another ENT, or I did something. So I knew that they probably wouldn't say yes to a 99 because they want you to have not advertised it in a while if you're going to do that. So I said, well, I'll just put in for a free promo and see if, I'll time it with the launch of the second romance and see how that goes. And so when they said yes, my thinking with that was, okay, this way I'll do that, and then I'll time it so I release the second book at the same time and kind of build on that momentum of, with romance, they say you'll get at least, people I've been talking about are getting like 50,000 or so downloads. So I did that, and I actually set it free a week 2 weeks early. I started the process because I didn't know how long it was going to take, and I went free a week early. And I learned so many lessons of what not to do, which is I really should have had the second book live before I even set it free. So I'll never do that again because I missed out on a whole week of potential sales. Because somehow I ended up getting like 27,000 downloads doing no promo the week before Bookbub. A little tiny website picked me up called eReader, the eReader Cafe, on the first day that I went free, and something happened where I got up to like in the top 10 in the store, so that kind of made a lot of downloads happen that week. And then I had the Bookbub on a Sunday, and I had 60-something downloads, and it kept coming in after that. I released the second book. I had people getting reviews right away and emailing me looking for the second book. And the one thing I did that I made sure was I had the link to my mailing list in the back of the book. And pretty much I have it everywhere that you can possibly go, on the Facebook page, product description. So anybody that got that book, I had a lot of sign-ups quickly for the mailing list. I think I went from 150 sign-ups to over 700 pretty quickly. And so I sent out, when I released the second romance, I sent out a quick email just saying, hey, it's here, and it's going to be 99 cents for a couple of days before it goes to its regular price of $2.99. So go ahead and grab it. And I think the power of having all the free downloads really helped with that, because I think I sold something like, 400 or 500 the first day, which got it pretty high up in the store. And it got as high as about 150 2 or 3 days later. And then by day 5, I raised the price to $2.99. And I kept the other book. Originally, I was going to keep it free. I was going to bring it right back to paid. But I decided to keep it free to support the book for another week. And so then I brought it back at 99 cents. And my thinking then was, if I did that at 99 cents, then maybe it would be on the top 20 page in the genre. And just seeing 2 books with the same name kind of close together might be good. So it shot up pretty high. I think it got up, like around 500 or so. And I kept it there for a week. Then I bumped it up to $2.99. I was really nervous to do that because I thought it was going to sink like a stone. But it actually stayed. It actually went up a little bit higher for a couple days. And then it stayed up there pretty high. I mean, I'd say it stayed above 1,000 for about 2 weeks. And then just last week it finally dropped down. Both of them stayed up and dropped down below 2,000. So I think the free run kept it up. My book before never stayed up that high that long. So for me, it was a good strategy, I think, to do that.
Now, one of the interesting things you'd said on the IRI loop was how many sales you got the minute you turned that book from free to 99 cents, that you got a lot more sales than you had originally ever expected when you switched it back.
Yeah, on the first book, that really surprised me because I have a lot of friends that have a perma-free, and they were, nobody really knows what's going to work. Everybody's still kind of trying things, and a lot of people have the first book free, and that really drives the sales to the second and third book. But where I only have the 2 books, I'm still kind of all about experimenting, and I just wanted to see what would happen. And I was thinking, worst case scenario, if the book sinks right away, I can always put it to free and just see what happens. So somebody else on, I think, K-Boards had said when they came off a free run, they kind of eased their way in, and they put the book at 99 cents for a week and then bumped it up. And so that seemed to work pretty well. I didn't expect it to do as well as it did, and actually is outselling the second book. And I'm not sure if that's part of having so many free downloads out there and just the visibility, or if it's because the second book is a Christmas book.
I think as far as what you're saying about experimenting and stuff, I think the writers that we see doing well are the type of writers that do experiment more. I think a lot of the mentality out there is people looking for one true path, and this is the way that works and nothing else works, and they kind of stick to one thing and never try anything else. And I think a lot of the guests we have on here, particularly the romance authors, do try new things and are always trying new things, because even when you find something that works, it won't work forever.
Yeah, very true. I think that you kind of see that with the big name authors. They're constantly trying new things as well.
Brenna,
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead, Wade. Did you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say, now, Brenna, you just recently did a Bookbub ad. I just really want to get out right away. What was different? How did you go about yours?
Well, actually, I'm going to echo Pamela a little bit about jumping the gun, because I did the same thing. I thought, well, I'll give myself a little momentum. The book comes out April 30th. Actually went live. Book 2 went out live April 28th. I set book 1 to 99 cents on April 22nd. I knew the Bookbub wasn't coming till May 10th, and I had no control over that. That was when I got it. I was fortunate enough that I applied for it and got it the first time. But I knew the Bookbub wasn't coming till May 10th, but I wanted that book at 99 cents to give book 2 some momentum. Basically, with my launch of book 2, my whole strategy was to push book 1 and concentrate all of my efforts on promoting book 1, because I knew that anybody who had already read book 2 and liked book 2 was probably already looking for it. So since I've got a trilogy with the same hero and heroine, and it's a continuation of the story, it made more sense to me to really concentrate all of my effort on book 1. So first thing I did was I set it to 99 cents, and I thought it would just kind of quietly sit there for a little while. I had a couple of fellow authors were doing some cross promo with their releases, and they were going to mention my book, so I wanted it to be 99 cents for that. What I didn't count on was, apparently, a lot of people, when they see a book that they like and they're shopping around, they can put it on their wish list, and they will get notified when the book changes price. And that happened without any price. And so I got this huge bump the day after, and people were tweeting about it. It was all over Twitter. It was all over Facebook, and I had never said a word. I had not said a word about the price change at all, but it was all over social media, and there's a couple of sites that you can set price on certain books. You can have them watch for price drop on certain books, and those were going out. And I think a lot of these bloggers and book promoters were using that to see the change in the price. So that was the first thing that gave me a big bump. My actual planned promotions didn't start until May 1st, so I figured, okay, wait till book 2 is live. I made sure we updated the back matter of book 1 so that all the links were in there. I had a copy edited excerpt which was chapter 1 of the second book. Put bio links in the back. And anyways, so having done all this, we started, and then I had applied for all of these ads, but I'd noticed that, or I'd been told, that if you give them a window, that you're more likely to get it, especially the Bookbub ad. I've been told that if you are more flexible with the dates. So I wanted it really close to the beginning of May, but I told them anytime between May 1st and May 15th, and so they gave me May 10th. So having done that, they also put me on the new adult list, which is a smaller list than the contemporary list, which I think probably what Pamela went out on. Did you go out on a contemporary romance, Pamela?
Contemporary.
Yeah, it's a much bigger list. So I was shooting for that list, but I didn't get it. They wanted me to go out on the new adult list. So I supplemented with other ads. I asked around in my author groups what was good, what was worth it, what wasn't. Some ads worked a lot better than others. Like Pamela said, ENT was wonderful. E-Reader's News Today. That ad went live on the 2nd. I did a couple more inexpensive ads. I did book sends, my romance reads. Those all had great results. So I kind of spaced them every couple days from between the 1st and the 10th. And of course, then when Bookbub went out on a Saturday, I had a huge spike on Saturday and Sunday. And I spiked on Saturday into the top 100, which is my big high. Just taking screenshots every 5 minutes, but I got up to number 79 in the Kindle store. So that was an exciting moment. And I stayed there almost 24 hours.
Nice.
Not quite as victorious as Trisha's Kindle Daily deal. I was very jealous of you when you got that.
One of our viewers is asking what kind of word counts you guys have in your books.
Mine is just barely 50,000. I'd say mine are similar to what you would think of as category romances that Harlequin puts out, about that 50,000 length.
And that's for both your romance and mystery books?
The mystery's a little bit longer, about 55, I think.
I write long. At Any Price is 106,000 words, and At Any Turn is 95,000 words. I'm wordy.
Trish, are you trying to talk? I think you're reading. Oh, there you go.
I was trying to check comments. Sorry, Brenna, I missed what you said, and then before I could respond, other people were talking.
I was telling you I was jealous of your Kindle Daily deal.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Montlike's been really good to me the last couple of months.
That's awesome.
I have a kind of a question for both of you regarding this second book launch. Now, I know you both did the ads. Now, Pamela, did you take out anything other than Bookbubs for your first book when you put it for free?
When I just did the Bookbub run for free, I did. I had a I kind of messed up on that too. I got my dates a little bit mixed up, and I was thinking a Monday was a different date, but anyway, it ended up being that my plan was to do a Kindle Books and Tips the following day to keep the momentum going, and ended up running the same day, so it's fine. But that was it. That was the only other one that I did.
Now, did you take anything out on the second book? Did you do any kind of a promo on that, or did you focus completely on that first book?
I did nothing on the second book, nothing at all. I take that back. I did one thing. The day that I released it, and I sent out to the mailing list, I also did, for 2 days, I did a $5 Facebook ad each day, just to my fans and friends of fans, just saying, hey, the book is out.
And do you think that helped?
I also boosted it.
Yeah, I do think it helps. I mean, if anything, it just kind of, it probably hits a lot of the same people that are on the mailing list, and it just is probably more than anything a reminder. You know, if they don't check the email and they're on Facebook, oh yeah, it's out. And plus people pass it along on Facebook, they share it, and it goes on Twitter, and you know, there's different groups on Facebook. Like Brenna was saying, you know, once it hits social media, there's a couple of groups I'm in. They're really good about, you know, if somebody has a release or they have a, you know, a sale like that, they'll tweet it, and they'll put it in these tweet groups where they look for the hashtag, and you know, so you might get it, you know, repeated a few times over a week.
How about you, Brenna? You have the same experience that the Facebook ads worked for you?
Actually, I used a smart URL to register where the clicks were coming from for the buy link. I have a smart URL in the back of the book, and I use it's called IQID. It's an IQID, so I can tell where it's coming from, whether it's Twitter or Facebook. And I got a lot the first few days with that boosted post on Facebook. So I wanted to make sure, you know, with Facebook, only a small fraction of the people who like your page actually see your average posts. Sometimes more than others, you know, depending on what the content of your post is. But if you boost the ad, it will reach the people who liked your page plus their friends. So I put a generic, I put a picture of the cover and just said it's available now, and it had the Barnes & Noble and the Amazon buy links in it, and I got a lot of clicks in the first week, and I had it pinned to the top of my page as well, so it was worth it to boost the post. So yeah, I did that to promote the second book. But I didn't do any other paid ads for the second book.
What about ARCs? You'd sent out quite a few ARCs for your first book. Did you do the same for your second?
Yes, I did a slightly different approach with the ARCs. I put it up on NetGalley again, but I didn't actually really end up approving a lot of people on NetGalley. It was mostly there for exposure. But I did approve a lot of reviewers who'd reviewed the first book. I also offered the first book to anybody on NetGalley who contacted me and requested. I had quite a few who did that, so they actually reviewed both books for me. So that was NetGalley, and then I also, instead of querying blogs this time, I'd already had many bloggers who had loved the first book, so I had them already on a list for book 2. We'd already discussed it months before. And then the third thing I did was I offered ARC. I sent out on my mailing list on the day of the cover reveal, which was in end of March, and I had a Google form, and I said, I had a list of some requirements of what they would need to do if they got an ARC. And so I offered ARCs to people on my mailing list as well. So those are the 3 things I did for ARCs.
Darren, I'm sorry, Trish. I think Darren had a question.
I know. I wanted to ask Pamela the same thing, though, because
Okay.
I noticed that she had 320 reviews on her first book. Did you do anything to try to get those kind of reviews for your second?
You know what? It's funny. When I did the Bookbub ad, I had 38 reviews. Now I think as of today, it's over 350. So that was all from the Bookbub. That was just sheer volume of downloads and reviews coming in quickly. On the second book, I didn't have as strong of an ARC strategy. I did an offering out to the mailing list. I had, I'd say maybe about just a half a dozen people that I sent ARCs out to. So I didn't do a large-scale ARC. That's really kind of about it.
Darren?
Yes, I'd like to ask the ladies, particularly Pamela. You said you'd done 2 separate launches, both around a similar way, and you picked things that were stronger than the first time around, the second time around. So could you tell us what you found more effective the second time around, and if there's any new players in the game that you used that you didn't the first time around? Just for anybody who's launching a new book.
Yeah, actually, you had actually told me about Kindle books and tips. I didn't know about that on the first go-around. So I tried that, and that, for me, is my second best behind ENT. That's been really, really good for me. So it's ENT, Kindle books and tips, and it's so cheap. It's $25. Those 2 are the most inexpensive, and they also, for me, they work the best. BookSends is okay. I think it's $50, and I've used it 3 times now, and I only broke even once. Each time I did maybe between 100 and 150. So that one, for me, I would probably put in there just if I was trying to keep the momentum going, but not looking for like a large spike. Those are the main ones. I would now, the e-reader cafe is a new one. Brenna, I don't know if you use that one, but that's a really good one for romance, for when it was free. I haven't tried it yet for paid. I haven't had booked in about a week or so on the first book just to see what it does. But that was a new one for me, and I only found it when they just happened to, they picked me up the day that it went free, and I'm like, where are these downloads coming from?
So if you haven't had Pixel of Ink yet, then?
They ignore me. I've tried them every single time. They want nothing to do with it.
Same here, and I think it might be, for me, I don't know, KBT, which I would love to have, and I may advertise the second book, but he didn't want the first book because of the setup. Setup was pretty overtly sexual, so he didn't want it. He's pretty conservative, so but I would have loved to have done KBT. I've heard wonderful things. So if you got the right book, I would definitely recommend it.
Thank you.
But Pixel of Ink also ignored me, and I think it was for the same reason.
Dave, did you guys get picked up by Pencil? Did you do Pixel of Ink as well?
Yeah, they picked up Yesterday's Gone a few times, but
so it can't be about content then, cause
no, it can't be. It can't be. I mean, we have necrophilia in that, so.
Oh.
Well, it's not.
Well, is it in the blurb though? Is it in the blurb?
Is it in the blurb, Dave? I don't think
No,
so.
it's not in the blurb.
It's right in the blurb of my book that the heroine is auctioning off her virginity. on the internet. So
yeah, ours
it's
is
kind of in
like,
your face.
yeah, ours is a post-apocalyptic horror story, and I think they probably figure there's probably not necrophilia. So
How long ago was that,
Surprise!
Dave? How long ago did they pick you up, Dave? How
Pixel
long
of
ago?
Ink?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's been over a year. They picked us up like 3 or 4 times total.
But my feeling with Pixels of Ink is that they're not picking books up like they used to. You used to see books going like sky high from Pixels of Ink, and you just hardly ever even hear them being mentioned anymore. And it didn't seem like they even opened this year like ENT did.
I had a traditionally published friend who noticed her rank jump. She couldn't tell what her sales were, of course, because she's published through Avon. But she noticed a spike jump, and so she did a little research, and she found that her book had been featured on Pixel of Ink, and nobody knew anything about it or why. I guess it just got randomly picked up. So it did have a bit of an effect for her.
That's what happened with Denise too, is her book just started jumping, and she looked and it was on Pixels of Ink. And she never, asked for sponsorship. So I don't know, it seems like it's just like they're not responding to indies anymore.
I have a friend that's an indie, though, and she gets picked up almost every single time she does a sale. And she's just like, oh, I don't know what happened. And we're like, oh, you got picked up again. And it gives her a similar result to ENT, a really nice boost. And it always comes as a surprise. And they must just be monitoring because she runs an ad with Bookbub almost every single month. She puts books out often. So maybe they just recognize the cover and they know that it's probably going to do well, so they just pick it up.
Yeah, I think that I think they're very much about books that have a proven track record, from what I've seen anyway. Because they have the affiliate code in there, and they're getting some money on it. And every time we were picked up, I don't think any of the times were times we submitted. They just picked us up on 2 different titles actually. Yesterday's Gone and White Space. But both. I mean, every time we were featured, it skyrocketed. I mean, that is single-handedly, I think, other than Bookbub. I mean, it's more powerful than anything else. Even Bookbub. Bookbub is like the next most powerful that I know of so far.
What about ENT? No.
I can't remember if we had done. We're trying. I think. Can't remember how well we did with them, if we had even done them. But I think we are trying for our next thing.
For me, I was picked up by both of them several times when I had Forged out, and they were exactly equal. ENT and Pixels of Ink were down to the wire within just a couple of downloads.
Well, that's good. So they were both good then.
Yeah, they were both really good.
Darren, you have a question?
Yes, I know this is absolutely impossible to gauge, but it's something I've been thinking about recently, and maybe everyone may have an insight on this, but I'd like to know, particularly from the ladies, if you think there's a tipping point in Amazon with a new release where they actually start picking you up and sending you out in emails. Because you see some books go up there and just fly, and you get them in your inbox, and some not. And I wonder if you have any kind of insight into that, or when you've noticed Amazon pushing you when you've got so far up the ranks.
I have no idea when they're pushing me or not. Sometimes I'll have people tell me, I saw your book on the landing page for Amazon, and I'm like, what, really? But other than that, yeah, I think it's so random going out on the mailing list. I'll have friends tell me that they got an email with my book on it, but I think that has something to do with them having browsed my book. Because I got a mailer with my books, and I just assume, oh, well, they saw me checking my ranks like a obsessive freak, and so they think I want to buy the book. So that's
I get emails for all the books that I track and for my own books, and it's never ever made a dent or a difference in those books' ranks. So I think they look at what you're browsing, and if you haven't bought it, then they send you an email to remind you, but you're probably the only person that's getting that email.
Yeah.
Right.
You can tell when they send a real email out because your book will just go like off like a rocket.
I think that happened to me, and I don't know the circumstances behind it, or if there was a certain point you had to get to. And I kind of had a look at it in my figures, and it's very hard to define. So I'm just wondering if you noticed the same thing. You just kind of went on steroids one day, without any advertising that you could find.
Yeah, just for me. For me, I can kind of tell that that it's an Amazon email because it generally happens within the first probably about week and a half of the release of the book, and it'll just be at a plateau, and then all of a sudden it just goes bonkers, and yet they haven't done any other promo on it at all. And then I'll start getting emails from people saying they got an email from Amazon about it.
Dave, weren't you guys just a Kindle Daily Deal a week or two ago?
For Z, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I know that's not the one you always wanted to be other. But what did you notice right away when that? Did you spike big time, or do you guys track it?
I did not really keep track of it. I looked a few times, but I didn't really keep track of it. I don't like keeping track of it because I don't like being disappointed if it doesn't do well. So I just said, screw it. Whatever it does, it does. I'll tell people about it, but whatever. And it's something that's not even in my control. It's not like a promotion that I need to track. It's something that they picked up. Obviously, it's going to do well. So I know we get hit with 1-star reviews right after that happens every single time. So, yay.
Yeah. That's what you want.
So I pretty much ignore it. It happens and it happens. So I will be keeping track of the promotions we do for our next few books using Darren's strategies, and I will report how that works.
Dave, do you think that's because you? Because I have my theory on this as well. When I went quite high, it's because you kind of step out of your genre, and people, because of your ranking exposure, start picking you up who may not necessarily read the post-apocalyptic horror type stuff.
Yeah, that is part of it. And then there's people that it's the first book is like a mashup of Hunger Games meets The Walking Dead, and the first half of the first book is weak. It's not our strongest work, and people that don't know us from anything else, that's their first experience with us. So some people are turned off, other people love it. The people that love it, that's awesome because we write so much better than that. So we know, hey, they'll be in for the long haul. Other people are like, oh, who the hell are these guys? So it is what it is. Yeah,
it's fair enough. I mean, I'd say it'll be the same with me, I think.
So Pamela and Brenna, I guess Pamela first. What are you guys kind of planning for the launch of your third book? What have you taken from this and have planned now for your next release?
That's a good question because I can't do another Bookbub that fast. So that's something I've been thinking about. I've toyed around with a couple of things. I've toyed around with doing a 99-cent on the first book, maybe doing another free run. I haven't really decided. I'm kind of going back and forth about that. But basically doing some kind of promotion on book 1 so that it'll drive the sales to book 2 and 3, and releasing it again at 99 cents for 2 days. Last time I released it at 99 cents for 5 days, and I think that I track it every day, and I think that I'm going to just try 2 days this time, I think, and see what happens there.
When do you think you'll get your next book out?
Well, hopefully by the first week of June. That's what I'm shooting for.
What's your pricing strategy going to be when you do that throughout the whole 3? Are you going to go $3.99 and $2.99 for the middle one? I mean, how are you going to spread it across the board?
As of now, I'm thinking I'm probably going to move towards having the first book free. I'm not sure exactly when that will happen, but I'll probably keep book 2 $2.99 and book 3 $2.99 as well.
And then how about you, Brenna?
Well, I'm about to finish my promotional pricing actually tonight. The book 1 will go back up. It was at $3.99 before the sale. It's at $99 now. I'll go back up to $2.99 and stay there until I'm ready to do something for the third book. Book 2 was released at $2.99, and it's been marked as special promotional price for the first 2 weeks, and then it's going to go up to $3.99 for book 2. I like the $3.99 price point because it gives me a lot of leeway as far as marking things down or trying to, if I decide, for example, I want to Bookbub book 2, I get a deeper discount that way. They like that. They also like those are some of the tips I was given when I was applying for Bookbub. A deeper discount. They really like that. They really like that they're when you tell them that there's another book coming out. That also helps. All these things are. I was told that when in the little comment section, you just write up everything you can think of that will convince them to take you for Bookbub. So anyway, for book 3, there's a lot of things I'm going to do differently. I think, first of all, I'm not going to make the mistake of whatever I'm going to do with book 1, playing around with maybe doing a free promotion. It will be a much shorter window instead of this 3-week long. I've moved a lot of books in the last 3 weeks, I have to say. I'm very pleased with that, and a lot of them have gone on to buy the second book. But it will definitely be closer to the release of book 3, whatever I do. And I think everything's just going to be much shorter window. I think I spread things out as from giving out the arcs a little too early to everything. I spread it out. I promoted in that way in the timeline. I promoted it almost like I was doing book 1, and I think I needed to shorten everything. My genre, they like teaser photos, with quotes from the book. That's kind of a thing for new adult. And I released those. I started releasing those a month before, and I think my readers started to get really frustrated with me because they give us the damn book already. So I'm gonna do everything much shorter to build up that buzz. I think it gives much more momentum instead of dragging out over a month, which is what I did with book 2. As far as pricing is concerned, I don't know. At this point, I think what I will do is I'm either going to go 99 cents again, and I won't be able to Bookbub book 1, or do a free promo and use some other ads. I had a really good result with a short story I'd written that is now perma-free. But I put it up for free Booksy just to see what would happen. I got a ton of downloads. It got into the top 100 of the whole free bookstore. So I might do that because there's some other things you can do if your book is free besides Bookbub to get a good result. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure yet, but definitely there were lessons to learn from what I did with book 2's release. It went really, really well, but of course you're always learning. You're always wanting to tweak how things go for the next time.
John, you had a question? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Trish.
Amy Gammett in the comments, she asked if any of us have insight as of to whether or not Amazon favors Montlake authors in their emails and Kindle Daily deals.
I would say yes.
I'd also say they favor traditional authors, period, with KDD especially.
To get the higher, to get those big promos like the KDD or the Kindle Select 25 or the New or Noteworthy, as an indie author, you have to sell a boatload of books. I mean, you have to be the Hugh Howey and the Lillian Hart, and you need to be selling basically close to 500,000 books a day or a year to be able to get those kind of deals.
We got a Kindle Daily deal for Yesterday's Gone.
Oh, really? Well, I think you're in a kind of a minority. I rarely see.
Aren't you 47 North, though?
No, that's our indie book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, actually, though, I have seen them do Kindle Daily deals for their Amazon publishing authors on their other books. Like they've done it for Catherine Bybee, and a lot of the romance authors, if they've got a series, an ongoing series, they'll do it for those books. Because it kind of cross-promotes their other books. If you're getting Your Yesterday's Gone, they're hoping that it's going to transfer over to, Z and Monstrous.
I wish they do it more.
So you don't think that necrophilia was a factor in them choosing to promote that book?
Probably not.
But the other thing to remember is that indie authors get those things, I think, for free. I don't think you have to pay for those. With the traditional houses, they have to pay for those. Those are paid promotions.
I would if I could. If they'd open it up to indie authors to pay, I definitely would do it.
Yeah, I'm surprised they actually haven't, but
that would be a neat thing to be able to get.
Too many people would bitch, though. Oh, they can afford to do it.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows that about Bookbub. Oh my gosh, constantly. And I understand. It must be really, really frustrating to apply over and over again and not get accepted. And have to know if there's some kind of special formula or whatever.
I had a question. So we obviously focus on Amazon so much because they are the big dog, but all these promotions, did either of you see anything being ticking up on other platforms?
Apple for me, big time.
Apple? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And it's so sad. I had 25,000 downloads at Apple, but then my book wasn't up for 3 weeks after the Bookbub ad. Because I didn't release the book until the second book 5 days after Bookbub ad, and then I had an issue with my file at Apple. Apple takes a solid week to go up usually anyway, and then after the week was up, they let me know there was a ticket and there was an issue, so it didn't get up until another full week after that. So I did see a little bit of a bump, and I basically covered the cost of the ad through the Apple sales, but I missed, huge window that I missed there, and I can't even blame Apple because I should have had the book up sooner. So I learned a lot of lessons.
So live and learn this. You make sure everything's up and ready to go before you.
Absolutely.
Try to get it up to Apple like a year in advance of when you need it.
We have had a lot of romance authors who comment that they do well on Apple's iBook store.
Yeah.
I've heard that going free, perma-free on Apple works really, really well.
Apple, when I had mine up, Apple was the next best-selling one next to Amazon. And that was back like in 2011 for just a couple of months.
Is anybody here on Google Play at all?
Not yet. Soon, though.
Oh, I got to do it because nobody's doing it.
I am, and I've sold like 2 books.
Oh, wow, 2. Oh, wow.
Right,
Maybe
and
I
oh my gosh, and for a while, Google Play discounts your book, just arbitrarily will discount it, and of course, for the 2 books I sell there, I don't care if they discount it, but it screws up my Amazon pricing because Amazon price matches, and I'll go on, and all of a sudden, randomly, why is my book $3.29 or why is my book $3.19? So you have to be careful about your pricing on Google. There's a whole stress. If you want it to be $3.99, you have to set your price at $5.18, and then they'll discount down to $3.99, but no lower. So there's different. You have to be careful when you price.
But do they have anything like Amazon, where Amazon says you can't price it lower at other places? Does Google have anything like that? So if you do $5.18, you're breaking that little thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know, they've never said boo to me or the other authors. The authors that advised me to do that, I actually learned that little trick from Courtney Milan.
Cool.
Nice.
We'll have to find somebody doing well on Google Play and interview them.
Well, there's a thread on there is a thread on the Kindle boards of someone
Blair
who's
Babylon.
Yeah, so we'll try to book them.
Cool.
They're doing extremely well. So Pamela, do you have any plans on, or do you have anything in the work with other authors to do some cross promotion, like box sets or reader communities or anything like that?
I do. I'm in a few Facebook groups for. I'm in one for called Clean. I think it's Clean Indies. So it's just the quieter books. But it's a really active group, and they're the ones that are really active and help support on Twitter. And then I'm in another group for Western romances. and that's a really active group. So we're talking about doing some different promotions and cross-promoting and blogs and stuff like that.
And how about you for your new adult audience? Have you hooked up with any new adult authors, Brenna?
Yeah, actually, we at the time that I was doing my Bookbub, I did a cross promo sale with 9 other new adult authors where we each went out and we all have particular bloggers that we have a relationship with. We created promo materials. Actually, I'm saying they actually did most of the work. I was really, really fortunate to have been included. But we coordinated on who we were going to contact, so we went and shared it all over social media. We shared it with all these different bloggers. One of the authors participating did prepared a whole blog post with the HTML and everything, and we just sent that out to the bloggers. So it was a already done blog post with all the buy links and everything. It was kind of this blanket. It was really, really effective. We all did really, really well. It happened to be the same weekend as my Bookbub, so I can't give you actual data as to whether or not I saw a bump because of that promo, but the other authors did do well. So yeah, that worked really, really well. And I'm looking into perhaps being included in the box set for book 1. I think that would be great if I can coordinate a box set with book 1 in it to be out about the same time that book 3 comes out. I think that would be a great promo too.
Now, has anybody here tried like targeted Facebook ads, like going after specific books? Like if you like this book, you'll like this.
I tried and failed once. I'm afraid to do it again.
Okay.
I've played around with it a little bit, and I'm trying something. In the Power Editor, you can create a lookalike audience where you can upload your mailing list. And then it will create a lookalike audience for you on Facebook of people that have similar profiles. So I'm just starting to play with that, so I haven't really tested it yet, but that's kind of the next thing I want to explore a little bit.
Well, let us
really
know
cool.
if that works for you and how it plays out.
Go to John Loomer. It's JONLOOMER.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great site. He's got videos and he's got all kinds of free content that really explains exactly how to do all of that. That's where I get most of my info for Facebook ads.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay. Darren, did you have any further questions?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. Firstly, have you been approached for box sets or any of those groups that get involved in that, and are you interested? And secondly, I suppose along similar lines, are you involved in any kinds of those mutual promotional groups?
We actually just asked them this, and they.
Yeah, I think you missed on the. I think there's a delay.
It's a time delay.
I think there's a real time delay there. They just answered that.
That's all right. Right. Okay.
You'll have to rewind, Darren, a little bit.
Darren was reading the website comments, probably.
I was thrown off track by the comments on the right. Yeah. I'm a guest. I'm not a pro like you lot.
That's what I said last time with Courtney when they were making me laugh the entire time. And I know there's some fighties in the corner. Naughty.
There's Spidey.
John slipped him in. Look at that big grin on John's face. He's been waiting for Brenna to say something.
Someone did ask where Carl is tonight, and I'm thinking witness protection program, but probably I think actually he had something. Family watched his daughter receive a award, I think it was. So that was pretty cool. But I thought he'd be trolling comments, but he hasn't.
He's at a bearding meeting.
Bearding meeting. There you go. There you go. All right. Anybody else got anything pressing? We're up right on the hour right now.
You can see Carl and Darren on Better Off Undead tomorrow for the most offensive show ever.
Really? They're back again, huh?
Yeah, we had to have them back. A lot of people liked them on the last one we had them on, so we figured we'll keep having them on until people get sick of them.
Yeah, because everybody else just clamors over Better Off Undead anyway, right?
Worst show ever.
Okay. Trish, anything else?
Nope, I pretty much got all my questions in. I just wanted to thank Brenna and Pam for stepping in kind of at the last minute like this. We kind of threw this together, and they were great sports to jump in with us.
Yes, very much appreciated, and very, very insightful. Great information. I love how willing the indie community is to share. That's the awesome part. You know,
It's good to meet you, Pam.
Thanks for
Yes.
having me on.
Brenna, thank you.
guys. Thanks.
Good to meet you again, Brenna.
Yeah.
Her and Kristen are going to be vying for most times on, I think. So.
Is Kristen
Like
with me
Steve
right
Martin
now?
on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Timers Club.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so whoever wants in on the after party, leave your email address as normal in the comments.
Okay. John, you ready to sign this baby off?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll do it for Carl. Say hi to your moms for me.
Say hi